And that also means too is that when you're out shooting street photography, some practical tips is generally walk 25% slower than you normally do. And the nice thing with walking slowly is that you could just perceive more, is that like so much of the time we have our headphones in, we're looking at our phones, and this prevents us from actually appreciating the joy and the beauty of everyday life. So even nowadays as a photographer, I'm not just trying to find these crazy street scenes, but even seeing this little patch of light around here, that would make a nice photo, so I might just take a step back and click. And so I'm finding so much beauty in just the nice play of the shadows versus the lights. And even if I wanted to frame this tighter, I just go closer and then maybe just frame it and then use the camera to tilt it a bit to create the Dutch angle. Maybe frame it something like this. And so once again realize that in photography and street photography, to be honest, I think street photography is the most difficult genre of photography in the world. The reason being is that in street photography, there's so many difficulties and so many challenges. Like you have to deal with the social anxiety of taking photos, and the social anxiety is something that's real. Like a lot of us often, shoot landscape photos or photograph for food or shoot flowers. Flower's not gonna yell. He's like, "Hey, fuck you for taking my photo," blah blah. No, it's like, but realize that the joy of street photography is in fact the risk. Is that when I was a kid, I was really into like, it's so embarrassing to talk about right now, but I was really into what they call aggressive inline skating. And essentially, I was, in my buddy Walter McGarrison's words, a fruit booter. So anyways, I was addicted to doing, to adrenaline junkie stuff. And actually, a lot of us, I think, are actually interested in street photography precisely because it gives us an adrenaline rush. Is that a lot of us in our everyday lives, we have boring jobs that are very predictable and boring. And to me, boredom is actually worse than death. So to be alive being bored, like, it's pretty horrible. So, oh man, this is nice too. Take a photo of that. And here, this is just also a practical tip. Rather than just taking a photo of this with all the white on the top and the white on the bottom, just don't zoom, but just take a step closer and then fill the frame. So you just get the outline of this here, and then don't get a little bit of that gray on top. Just get closer and then just shoot it like this. Or if you want to be super focused, you can shoot it vertical. You get close like this, and shoot it like this. Anyways, so I'm getting distracted once again. So yeah, realize that what you want to do is see an interesting scene, identify it, linger, and also this is a practical tip. This is one thing I like about shooting with an LCD screen is that it's good to frame. And when you're framing, one tip is always look at the edges of your LCD screen or your frame and trying to get diagonals or trying to get visual elements coming from the corners of your frame, because unfortunately there's no human being which is like a dragonfly. All of us mostly unfortunately become tunnel vision. So tunnel vision in photography means that we only look at what's in the center of the frame. We fail to look at what's on the edges of the frame. And the more you could focus on the edges of the frame, then you could just end up making better compositions. Generally the mistake that a lot of us make in photography is that we just see a scene, we get excited, we take a bunch of photos, and then we totally don't think about framing and composition, and we just get super excited, and then eventually we just try to crop afterwards, but the photo never feels the same. And so even like a scene like this, rather than just click, click, click and shooting, look at the edges of the frame. So the top left corner, the top right corner, the bottom right corner, and the bottom left corner. So you can see all this clutter here. If you don't want that, just keep going closer. And then now you can see the top left corner is a lot cleaner. This would probably make a better composition rather than a photo like this where you have all this clutter in the top left corner. Or even if you didn't want all this white stuff here, and then you don't want that gray thing here, you might just get close and then fill the frame like something like this. And if you didn't want that, you could just take a step closer here. And so once again, for me, I kind of have fun in photography. It's kind of like a visual game where you're trying to make it more simple. And what simple means in photography is to have fewer distractions, to always look at the edges of your frame. And yeah, so these are some basic concepts which will be useful for you in your photography. So once again, to recap the tips, you see an interesting street scene, don't just take 1 or 2 photos and run away. Rather linger, hang out, and just keep shooting. Keep working the scene from different angles. Continue to take a step to the left, take a step forward, take a step back, crouch down, and just keep clicking while you're shooting, because you don't know what the best composition is until you go home. So it's better to work the scene. And yeah, just enjoy life. As you know, you see these nice girls talking here, a nice urban landscape here. So yeah, ultimately that's the thing that I enjoy most about photography, is that it's kind of mental therapy. It's finding more joy in life. It's essentially, like, a lot of us, I think, we're just miserable of being alive. And to me, I wake up every morning. Actually, I don't wake up every morning, but I try to wake up every morning. I'm like, man, it's awesome being alive. And to revitalize this childlike spirit of living and life and growth and learning, to me, is so essential. And generally what I like to do is try to be a kid again. So I actually enjoy spending more time hanging out with kids than I do with adults, because adults are so boring. Or watching kid film, like watching the Lego movie, or rereading old comic books. I grew up to Calvin and Hobbes, and I was just so inspired with just like how foolish everyone was in Calvin and Hobbes. I think it's good for the imagination and creativity. Don't worry about what other people think about you. Treat whatever you create like fun little experiments. So anyways, to learn more about composition, framing, re-sparking this creative energy and passion you have, check out my new course on Udemy titled Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Mastering Photography. Even if you consider yourself more of an intermediate or advanced photographer, I think it'll be a great way for you to go out and just get all these brand new photography assignments for you to re-inspire yourself and to essentially restoke this inner fire of passion, desire for you to live more and to find more beauty and joy in your everyday life. All right, so for more info, click the link below, and excited to have you and see you there. Peace out.